Oh,
One thing we're
Toxicity,
looking
yeah.
at doing as well is kind of expanding on what you've seen in kind of like dungeons or cave systems, where we're going to be spending a good amount of time to kind of tuning dungeons in our game to kind of offer those replayable experiences, kind of similar to what you'd kind of expect in like games like Diablo. So inspired by that, where it's like rifts and stuff like that, where there's an incentive to constantly run something over, and each one will provide a specific thing. Did he get a headshot on me? Oh no, that was
That was my
Jenkin.
neck.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these dungeons. Is there one currently in game? Because I see a couple on the map. Is that something we're
Yep.
going to be checking out today as well?
any
Or?
sewers here?
I
Oh,
think so. So we do have sewers. They're still being worked on. I can show you a tiny bit of them, but just keep in mind, alpha. We're waiting on the next patch to kind of fully implement the rest of the sewers for us to be able to explore. I can take us to the Waterfall cave to kind of give you a general idea of like the rundown of what you'd be doing in specific things. But when it comes to dungeons and the replayability, this is something kind of early access and on. But we do have the initial implementation of us being able to travel to them, run through them. And with the way that they're implemented right now, they're all PvP. So it's not something right now where you go in and you'd be safe. So we'll have to keep that in mind when we're running through there.
So no funny headshotting anymore.
Yeah, no funny headshotting. So I could show you the first floor, or I can show you a little bit of the Waterfall Cave dungeon.
Let's do the waterfall. Sounds pretty interesting. So since there's so many dungeons and you can travel to different veils, will there be like an end goal?
So a lot of what you're going to be seeing on different veils and specific to the dungeons, we're going to be tying in a lot of lore and tying into specific things that you'll be able to do in order to have that kind of story and kind of lore-driven playstyle. So we will have a lot of that coming up, and we'll have tons more information on what we'll be introducing specific to this story coming soon. But definitely a lot of it's definitely going to be able to open us up to a lot of different unique experience that are driven based on the Hawaiian culture.
Nice. And most of these will be done, or will be able to do it solo, I would assume, right?
So there will be some co-op, like it will benefit you more to do it in co-op. I don't know if we're planning on doing specific stuff that'll block the player out completely. As far as I'm aware, that's not the direction we're going in, but we want to offer as much to every player as possible. It'll kind of come down to that choice where it's like, do I want it to be easier, or do I want to experience it on my own? And I think when it comes to stuff like quests, you're kind of open to being able to do that to kind of make sure that players that are solo can have access to that. But I'll have more specifics once we hit early access.
It's great to hear because I generally play solo. I know
the
a
lone
lot of
wolf
other people
here.
do as well.
Me too. I even though I have a lot of hours in Arc, actually a majority of them have been spent playing as a solo player. So it's like solo raiding, solo bossing, kind of being able to go through those experiences were fun. I do like group play, but having the option to play solo is kind of I always end up defaulting to that kind of behavior just because it makes the game more challenging, and being able to accomplish certain things solo is definitely really rewarding. So we do want to make sure that we have sleeping bags here.
Sleeping bags can just be placed anywhere.
Yep.
Our dungeons, I believe they're more dangerous places, right?
Yes, right, like they're condensed with enemies, so we will need to be careful, as well as the fact that we also have PvP in them. So the one that we're going into, we do need to be careful shooting, because we could kill each other. So this will definitely be very interesting.
Also, you can also name these beds. It'd be good to mark in points of interest.
You can name them, but if you'll notice that if you go to your map, you'll notice that the totems show up on your map as well as the respawn points that you set. So you actually can see the ones that you put down. Previously, we didn't have that, which everyone's like, well, where did I put my base? It's a big map. Same with respawn points, so we went ahead and added those in.
I don't like the little icons the map has as well. They rotate a little, and they show you a good amount of information too.
And that's something we'll be expanding on as well. And there are certain talents that you can get with each talent group that do provide some information on your compass outside of that. So definitely something that you're able to filter out and kind of benefit from using.
So I have one question. The question from us is, how would you rate your game from 1 to 10 and why?
See, I love this question because I am 100% going to say 10 out of 10 IGN, but no, I love this game, and coming from so many other survival games, it's just having those extra experiences that lean towards more player investment, more RPG mechanics, and being able to kind of dictate the player choice without being pigeonholed into kind of focusing on too many things when I can kind of have more control over how I want my character's investment to be in general is exactly why I enjoy it so much. And especially being able to kind of watch the game progress as well, and seeing all the stuff that's come in and how everything has progressed has been just absolutely amazing. And having our community in general being as supportive and great with kind of community feedback and helping us shape the game into what it is just absolutely amazing. So I have to be 100% biased.
Well, it's good to know that you like the game you're making. I heard a click, and you were suddenly gone. Where did you
Yep.
go?
So I got too excited, so let me teleport back to you guys.
I need to click on the stone, I think, into the depths.
Oh yeah, I see it as well.
Yep.
That's a secret entrance?
Yep. Okay, so I need to get these
Oh.
because they're gonna.
Oh, that's... Oh, look at these caves.
So
Not
server-
that dark as in the forest.
That's a good thing. Do you
Yeah,
like the
no, we
crystals?
at some point we had an issue where it was way too dark and like you couldn't see anything unless you had a torch, which actually made it pretty spooky, but obviously a little bit too challenging. But this is one of the first dungeons that was implemented, so a lot of stuff is going to be changed. A lot of the experiences are going to be different once we hit early access. But
What? What the boar is doing here? It's his
so that's
cave,
a
all right?
food source.
That's a snack on the go, right? As you
Yeah.
enter the depths. Yeah, I think in many survival games, sometimes developers make the game too dark. And I really enjoy the dark atmosphere. The problem is that you don't get any tools that would make it way brighter. For example, the forest, where it's just
Mhm.
constantly in the pitch black pretty much. So yeah, you can have a flashlight, which doesn't do much,
Mhm.
or yeah, so I feel like the game having a dark atmosphere is totally fine, but maybe they could add, I don't know, something. Yes, a torch should make some brighter, you know,
So we
radius
also
around you, or maybe some flash light on the weapon, you know.
Yeah, we'll be exploring kind of other stuff, and I think one of the biggest suggestions as well has been a miner's helmet, which I would absolutely love. Was it 7 Days to Die? Yeah, one of the games I was playing recently. Literally every time I looted that, I would just put it on, and it's like having the option to kind of. I do like dark atmospheres, and I do like having specific things, but when it comes to experiences where you're kind of limited to explore, it's like it's not fun to be traversing through that big of an atmosphere where you need to rely solely on light. And that was one of my biggest complaints with Rust. I mean, not Rust, Ark, was like nighttime. I would not even leave my base. Like I would basically just go throughout my base and kind of just reorder stuff and kind of wait for uh, daylight to hit. So we're definitely not going too dark, but we're going to be finding ways to kind of make things challenging, but also kind of doable without having to like kind of come back in and be like, hey, we needed to add a gamma option because these players want it so much because um, we made it such a challenge for them to kind of do certain things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, something like the minus helmet would be great, especially for content creation, because dark areas are generally not good. You can't see
Yeah.
anything.
Definitely. And I think as long as you kind of limit specific options where it's like you're able to kind of, if you do want to offer like a area that's really dark, at least make it limited, like make it something that can be immersive through gameplay by
Yeah.
equipping something like a miner helmet or doing certain things in the game to be able to do that. But definitely going to be a lot of stuff that we consider when it comes to kind of adding in those experiences and making sure that we're making the gameplay as best as possible.
Is there a revival feature in the game?
Yep, there is a revival feature.
Sweet. So when we accidentally shoot each other, we can revive each other.
Yep. I don't think we've shot each other yet.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised about that.
Yeah, I know one of my last streams, we were running through this dungeon, and right before we finished it, I actually killed the streamer, and I didn't notice it, and the chat went crazy because they're like, "He did it," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And it was fun, and it was like that's why I'm like I will actually watch what I'm shooting now,
Yeah.
because before I was just like holding down the trigger and everything like that, but.
Didn't enjoy the stream that much, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Like, I think the way he took it too is kind of hilarious because, like, it took him a while to figure out what happened too, and it was kind of that spontaneous moment that him and I both had, and it made it great. But a lot of work is going to be done to the dungeons in general to kind of make sure
What
that
up,
they're
coming?
replayable. Oh,
I think the dungeon in this game is pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far too.
I like the big spaces. It's not like very cramped where you just have to look
so
where you
this,
step.
yeah, so this is the easy dungeon, because it is a lot less condensed. Oh, someone coughing.
I
Yeah, I
think
have
that's the
quite a high
mutant.
toxicity.
Oh,
That's
okay, let
probably
me
why.
give you an
Oh,
antidote.
I thought that's the mutant.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe you got infected, man. I'm not very kind of confident being near. Maybe I just take a bullet in your head right now.
It's alright, I'm slapping this pulse. Oh, there we go, injecting it. Wow, it gets
Inject.
rid of everything. Is that as well?
Oh, I got wrecked.
Well, we can check out how the reviving works. I just hold F. Simple enough.
Yep.
You don't need anything for this? I
So
guess
what you
not.
want to do too is when he's up, you can actually equip a bandage or a medical kit and hold. You can click right mouse button on him and left mouse button to start bandaging him up if he doesn't have those options. So you're able to do that in the game to kind of make sure that your allies, or I mean initial enemies, are being taken care of.
I've noticed Brandon has some red eyes in the dark, glowing. No, no.
I think
Okay.
that's the red bar on the side of your crosshair. Because I had the same issue in his base as well. I was like, does this man have red glowing eyes? I thought he's messing with us. He's actually one of the mutants.
Oh yeah.
He's just luring us deep into the cave.
This looks like a really cool place, gotta admit.
Yeah. I really like that. You just go up the spiral and you probably end up at the final boss that's gonna kick your ass. Do you have
Yeah, no,
bosses right now?
so Big Bob is the main feature of the dungeon and certain sieges, but we are going to be expanding what you're seeing. So there are going to be bosses for dungeons, there are going to be bosses for specific events. So definitely a lot more exciting stuff to come. I didn't even show you the scariest mutant yet, which I can't show here because it wouldn't work out too well in this environment. But we'll come up to it.
I'm guessing he's massive then.
Not so much massive. It's just the way the mechanic works is interesting.
Without the torches get so dark in this area.
Yep. There's I could use the flare gun. The only issue with the flare gun is the mechanic of it is it'll attract the mutants. So when you're moving through the corridors, using that is actually a detriment. It looks really pretty and it lights up the area really well, but obviously the trade-off is everything's going to be attracted to it.
Do you also have more bullets?
Yep. Which one do you need?
The pistol. You also have a lot
Right.
of these 5.56 ammo.
Oh, so that'll be for this scar. Yep. So
Uh,
I'll drop that too.
Oh,
Oh, that's pretty nice. And here we come. The horde is coming.
Yep. So if you hit them directly, oh wow, my aim.
I'm on fire.
It's all blood red right now.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty sick.
So that'll damage them as well. So not only do they illuminate everything for you, but it's actually a nice light source. It's just that you do have that trade-off where you do need to worry about a massive amount of coming for you.
Oh man, this scar's pretty strong.
You can also light each other on fire. So that's another way we can light the area. Oh, here, watch. I'll let you do it.
I can't accidentally fall down here.
Nope. That could change. So if you try it in the future, I can't guarantee you won't fall down there. Oh,
What's that?
so that is one of the mutants.
A new one?
Nope. So it's actually one of the cannibal. Of course. It is one of the cannibals we kind of added in the text-to-speech thing just to test out the system, but we left it in because it's so funny. But there's definitely going to be more sounds and more mutants coming in, so that'll be different.
Duncan, do we have more questions up the sleeve?
Yes. Are you guys planning to run an open beta before the early access launch?
So unfortunately, we don't. The only people who currently have access to the game are early alpha testers as well as Kickstarter backers. Last month or the month before, we let in Wave 3, so we're letting in Wave 4 soon. But unfortunately, right now, you cannot access the game through an open beta. This is the end of the dungeon. This is not like one of the major dungeons, but once early access hits and moving forward, you'll see kind of varying dungeons being released where there's a lot more challenges, a lot more mechanics, and a lot of systems in place. So that was the easy one.
How
So
about
keep that in mind.
difficulty scaling in terms of, let's say, if a few people enter the dungeon compared to one person, do you have like difficulty scaling system?
We don't currently. Ooh, it's pretty out.
Also, will the dungeons will be shared with other players? So, for example, everyone enters and they'll be able to meet everyone, or just if you enter it with a group or alone, you just stay there alone? Or...
So there are going to be some instance dungeons planned, but there are going to be some where you actually are still within the world. So you will need to worry about characters, but we're going to be adding various systems. So I do believe there's going to be difficulty scaling, but it'll be probably for specific ones. It won't be for all.
Wow, if you shoot a flare up to the sky, it just kind of floats.
Yep. So it takes its time to hover down, but that'll be fixed.
Fill the sky with some lights.
Yeah, like some Christmas, lights.
Yeah, it's celebratory.
Wonder if they put it on fire. Nope.
Well, yeah, because we're in the PvE zone, I would assume.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if we were in PvP right now, we'd be able to hit each other.
Yeah, imagine these in PvP, like
Just
putting all the sky through. Yeah, just
rain it down upon your enemy. Oh, imagine.
Well, that's another thing too. Is like it's going to be coming up with creative ways because those will attract mutants. So if you did come across a base where there are active mutants beside another player's base, that will have an effect. So that's definitely going to be leading to some creative moments, and we are going to be looking into other kind of like systems or like gameplay mechanics through weapons or items that kind of attract attention of the mutants or kind of detract. So definitely a lot of possibilities on what we can do there.
I think the flare gun could be a lot of fun with the size that the servers are going to have, especially for large clients. You can just all have a flare gun and just shoot at the same time. You just have 100 flares raining down on the enemy base.
Yeah, we're gonna have to test that before early access and make sure everything's good there. Because we're gonna be looking at like a ton of different systems and a ton of different ways that people are gonna try to abuse something, and do our best to kind of alleviate that before release. So it's definitely a lot of work and a lot of polish that's going to be coming in within the next few months, but super excited for early access.
Yeah, talking about updates of early access, full release. Will there be updates past the full release?
Yep. So there's definitely gonna be a lot planned. I don't have too many specifics on what that'll be looking like, but we're definitely going to be getting together and releasing a roadmap on what players can expect throughout not only early access but final release of the game. So there definitely is going to be a lot more coming. A lot of the stuff that I mentioned earlier, and then a lot of stuff beyond that. So definitely really excited there. Oh.
And how long would it take to reach the end game normally after full release?
So that's a very difficult question to answer currently, but it's something that definitely we're going to spend a lot of focus on. It'll probably be similar to other survival game experiences, but with the MMO aspect and the RPG elements, it will be a bit longer. But it's something that we're definitely going to be making sure that it's tuned in a way where things feel right and not too grindy.
So sometimes I find developers work on the features that are not that important and forget the most important ones. You cannot fulfill, I guess, everyone fast. So I have to stick with some certain things that you think are the most important for most people and just have certain priorities in line.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why it's been so important, and we've kind of made sure that we're fostering our community as much as possible and making sure that we have that active dialogue with people to kind of, because there's our perspective as developers, and then there's the perspective of players as well as potential players. So it's always good to kind of have a full picture on how things are looking and how things are progressing. So we did have quite a lot of feedback come in with the Kickstarter leading up to now, as well as leading up to early access. So kind of having the ability to gauge interest within our community as well as outside of it is going to be really crucial to making sure we offer as much of a good experience to players as possible.